Today, Airbnb released their 2022 winter update. And since I've been an Airbnb superhost since 2020, I figured I would just give my feedback from a realistic perspective. I believe that I am one of the small market hosts in an urban city that has not been able to make great use of the past updates. And I wanted to give a realistic take on how they really affect hosts who are not listing mansions or lakefront property or, all those things that, you see and hear about. I'm just a normal host. I get a decent amount of bookings, but this mostly due on location, not because of the updates and the way they've changed the website to make it more destination based. People who come to my Airbnb are coming looking for a place to stay. It's very similar to a hotel. A lot of times they choose my place over the hotel because of cost effectiveness or the amount of people they're with. They want to stay together in groups, and a lot of times they would have to get two, three, four different rooms. But at my house, it's very large, and they get the opportunity to stay together. And so I wanted to talk about some of these updates in a realistic manner. So what I did was I went to Airbnb CEO Brian Chesney's Instagram page. And here, to my surprise, I saw that it was time for the winter update. And so I wanted to look and just give feedback on pretty much everything he said. So let's check out his clip and his video.
I'm excited to show you what we've created for our 2022 winter release. It starts with Airbnb Setup, the all-new, super easy way to Airbnb your home. Airbnb Setup matches you with your very own superhost. Hey Jennifer, I'm Brian.
Hi Brian, it's nice to meet you.
Your superhost can give you one-to-one guidance each step of the way.
Those look great.
It looks like I need to come up with a title.
So you want to pick something that makes your space unique. Yeah, I like that one.
Your superhost can give you tips on getting your home ready, all the way to welcome your first guest. Thanks Jennifer, I'll talk to you soon. And there it is. I just listed my guest room on Airbnb.
Okay, so the first thing is this Airbnb setup where they're basically giving you a real person to talk to that you can familiarize with that will help you through the process. I mean, he did it in like one or two steps, but I feel like as a actual host, there's a lot of other things he did not cover. Like for example, some of the back end stuff, or the setting up your tax info, right, or linking your account, for your payments, and different things like that. He just kind of skipped to it and made it seem like it was just, sign up, add some pictures, and start making money. But there's a couple other steps that he didn't include. So that was something that I noticed just from being there. And honestly, is this even necessary? I mean, once you get to that part, it is pretty straightforward. But there's more technical side. Like I said, the tax info. That's the part that I'd rather him sort of at least mention and say, like, hey, there is another step that involves some of the tax and account setup, and that could be tricky if you're not used to it. Also, when you set up your Airbnb, I mean, one thing I did learn was the guests need to understand how to give proper reviews. I mean, if you look at somebody who has a lot of reviews, it kind of starts off by saying, oh, a great place, cool or awesome. They don't really go into detail. I had to pretty much coach, guests to give reviews and ratings. And when I launched my second Airbnb, I actually got in trouble because the first couple of guests did not leave reviews, and there's at the time, and I'm not sure if they still have this, but there's a certain amount of review percentage that you have to get to maintain. And when I launched my Airbnb and when I set it up, I started getting email notifications pretty much saying that my listing was going to be removed if I didn't get over a certain amount of reviews. And I had guests, I would say if I had 3 guests, 2 did not leave a review. And so when I got the one, it was below the average because they just gave me this mediocre review, like, yeah, it was okay. not even taking into consideration, the preparation that I did, the welcome message, the guest book. Like, they didn't hit their points that Airbnb sort of trains their host for to, allow for a good stay. I pretty much had to go on Etsy and order a review star guide and put it on my refrigerator so that way my guests would understand what I pretty much meant and how to give a review. If I was setting up my Airbnb now, I guess I would appreciate having someone to talk to. But I mean, I think YouTube is a much better platform. Like, I could just go to YouTube, watch a video on my leisure. I feel like there's a fair amount of coordinating that would have to go into FaceTiming an actual host. And I've had people reach out through the platform, the Airbnb platform, or through another, platform, email or Facebook or something like that, and ask to, connect. And I honestly didn't have the time, and I didn't know these people. Now I know that they're saying that, you're verified and, that you're an actual host, but I didn't know the people that were requesting, even if they were interested in getting into Airbnbs. And so I feel like it is a tad bit of, not that useful. But I mean, it could be a useful feature. But I personally rather just go to YouTube than have to do all this scheduling, the FaceTime, and to give people feedback, because he was pretty, lax. When talking to the person, their conversation was pretty just cut and dry, and oh, that looks good, and what if they don't agree? What if they don't like your pictures and you end up taking all these pictures? What if you don't have your place set up right and you have to go and spend all this money to sort of get it up to standard based what this host is telling you to do, and even naming your property the way that this host that is in the Airbnb setup is telling you to list it, and then what if it doesn't work? Are you going to blame them? Are you going to be like, well, I met with the Airbnb setup actual host. They gave me a bunch of information. None of it worked. I had a couple guests. They didn't leave proper reviews. And now, 1 month, 2 months in, my Airbnb is in trouble of getting removed off the platform. I just think that they should leave it up to the people and their personal ambition if they're interested in actually going through with this process on Airbnb. And I know they can't talk about other platforms, but the reality of this is you're not going to just make it with one Airbnb on one platform. I mean, I'm set up for 5 platforms. And in all transparency, what about those platforms? There's going to be some crossover with actual host saying, yeah, I'm on 5, 6 platforms and I'm getting more VRB bookings at this time. I feel like they're trying to pigeonhole this information when it's actually much, much bigger than just their platform. So, but I mean, all we can do is see how it works, and people's personal experience with it may be good or bad.
Airbnb. We're also giving you even more air cover with upgrades like guest identity verification, so you can know guests are who they say they are. Next spring, every guest booking an Airbnb around the world will be verified. We're launching reservation screening technology to block bookings that might lead to unauthorized parties. And we've tripled AirCover's damage protection from $1 million to $3 million. I hope this makes it easier to put your place in Airbnb.
Okay, so the next part is AirCover, and 100% he should have led with this. I mean, this is something that they created. When I first joined the platform, there really wasn't any type of guarantee, and they actually were having the host work it out with the guests. So meaning if I came to my unit after they checked out, within 24 hours, I could fill out a claim on the app, and it would go to the guest, and it was up to them to read it if they wanted to or not. And I had a couple of guests that did some things and they didn't read it, and I didn't get any reimbursement. But then there were some times where the guests took responsibility for some things and they did pay. Then they kind of upgraded to the first air cover where every host was covered and you would submit a claim, but it was still kind of like a little back and forth thing, and then it went to automatic. The situation I had which was automatic, was I had some couch damage, and they pretty much, would give you, I believe it was like 30 days for the guest to respond before they cast you out. But it was a lot of go back and forth. So you would talk with the representative either through the messaging system or on the phone, and then they would reach out to the guest, and then the guest would either pay. The third version of air cover is they sort of just covered it automatically and then contacted the guest. Now, 1 million was the limit, and now I guess they're doing this to try to attract like larger spaces because as much back and forth as I went to, and the verification that you need to get $1 in the first place is a lot. Like you have to, have submitted a receipt. You have to contact Airbnb within 24 hours, and then they have to decide whether or not it's worth it. I mean, there's been times where I've had damage and they've just said, they're unable to cover it. I did have photo evidence the next time, and I just got a reimbursement. I believe it was like $1,500, but I legitimately had to make repairs and changes. Like my place was trashed, and it came in handy, but it wasn't like a profitable situation. It wasn't like I made the reservation and this 1,500. It was kind of like, I made a small amount. Let's say it's $250 a night, and then you've got $1,000 worth of damages. And so and if there's someone coming right after you, let's say the next day, you might have to cancel that booking, which you'll be possibly penalized for. Now you can try to you can put those expenses on the guest, but and that's where I'm guessing the air cover comes in handy when you have guests back to back, and then there's damages. They will cover the canceling of your next bookings, but then that will affect your super host status and also could possibly affect your platform. The identity verification is a big deal. There's been tons of people on there where if you go to their profile, it'll say joined in 2022, and they have no guest reviews from hosts. And I usually, don't even accept those type of bookings because I already can tell you what it is. It's just somebody, either a mom or a brother or older sister looking to book a Airbnb for their younger sibling, or somebody who just isn't looking to have a party, and it becomes outrageous. I mean, if you go onto the Facebook groups, which I feel like have been more honest in what goes on Airbnb, you'll see that people, they do all type of stuff from scheduling 30 days, and then once you pre-approve and or once they pay, they cancel it for a 2-week stay, and so they can get the regular rate of, let's say if it's a $200 a night, but if they book 30 days at a certain percentage, they'll get it every night for, let's say, $100. Then they book and then they cancel, and then they get the 2 weeks for $100. Like there's all type of little things that they were doing that they really haven't made any type of process for. And also, I mean, let's talk about the customer service with AirCover. When you have to contact someone from AirCover or Airbnb, it's always someone from out of the country. Always have trouble hearing them. They don't speak English, and they're not the most caring, really. I mean, you could have spent your last dollar on this place with the intention to put it on Airbnb. It gets trashed your first booking, and they really don't care. They may or may not be able to help you. They may review your damage claims, and they may choose not to, compensate you. And it's a pain. It's a pain, So I feel like if anything, the customer service could be better. And I'm guessing that's why they added the Airbnb setup to actually have you speak with a host, because people were just going to Facebook marketplaces and say, hey, I'm a new host. Anyone have any tips for me? And people have been giving them the real. More so than what I think that they will get on this Airbnb setup. The 3 million is a lot. I mean, you would have to have some extensive damage to even be able to get that. Could you imagine having a insurance claim for 3 million and they paying that? I don't think they're going to cash out that much. But there is a lot of damage, especially with the people who are not who they say they are. I don't know how that reservation screening technology will be, because everybody now puts their ID up on Airbnb, and so they're all verified now. But maybe it's a secondary form of ID with maybe another contact, because they damage your stuff and they delete their account. So we'll see.